really honored to be here today to talk to you all about what we do at the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival in Paducah, and I'm happy to be here with my colleague Seth Murphy. As you heard, he has a lot of history in the Paducah area. He's really connected there, so we're happy to be able to partner together on the festival. So to talk about the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival, I actually have to first talk about Yeiser Art Center, because Yeiser is the organization that puts on the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival now. So in 1905, a woman named Mary Yeiser was born, and she ended up being a really incredible advocate for the arts in Western Kentucky. So Mary had the privilege to study abroad. She was able to travel. She studied art in Chicago, at the University of Kentucky, in New York, in Europe, and eventually when she came back home to Paducah, she realized that there was a lot of really creative people there, a lot of art making happening, but in the area where she wanted to focus in art education, there wasn't a lot of access to the arts. There wasn't a lot of artwork that was available in real life to look at, to study, and to learn from. So a group of Mary's friends and her got together and decided that they needed to do something about this, and they formed the Paducah Art Guild, which eventually changed into Yeiser Art Center. So it was a fledgling organization, started in 1957, so we are actually Paducah's oldest nonprofit arts organization, and we are housed in the historic Market House building, which is downtown Paducah. And the really incredible thing about this building is actually Mary Yeiser's grandfather was the mayor of Paducah and built this building in 1905, the year that Mary was born. So there's a lot of really interesting history with the space we're in. The city of Paducah owns the Market House building, and it's dedicated to the arts and cultural organizations. So we share the building with the History Museum and the Market House Theater, which is our community theater. So the Market House building was an open air market. As you can see in the older photo, the horses and buggies would pull right up and park on the sides of the market. It was this central space for people to gather, have commerce and community in downtown Paducah. And now it's a central space for that commerce of the arts and culture in our downtown. We're just a block from our riverfront. We have really beautiful flood wall murals, and we have a really dynamic downtown with lots of other businesses and arts organizations. So as I mentioned, Mary Yeiser started our organization. We're celebrating our 66th year this year, and we've been in the Market House building since 1963, and that space has changed over the years to house our different activities. And those activities include a lot of things besides the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the things that we do at Yeiser Art Center. We have a gallery space where we host exhibitions throughout the year. We have some international juried exhibitions along with local exhibitions to showcase our members, our local high school students, and other area artists. And then we also have a big, important component of what we do is our educational programming, because that was where Mary started. That's really at the heart of our mission, is having educational opportunities for the community. So with that, we host different workshops, classes, hands-on activities. We partner with other arts organizations. We partner with other events to offer that artistic component for other kinds of festivals and fairs. And we have our 2 international juried exhibits in the gallery each year. One is Fantastic Fibers, which is our textile exhibition, and then Art Through the Lens, which is our photography exhibit. So these shows are open to anyone in the world to apply. So we get submissions from all over the world. We have a outside juror each year. That changes so that we get that different perspective in our juror. And then all of the artwork gets shipped to us. We install the show. Of course, have receptions, other programming around the show to encourage people to come in and learn about the artwork. And then when it's over, we pack up all the artwork and we ship it back. And then we also have, like I mentioned, solo shows, member shows, where we're highlighting some of our local artists, and then also our member artists. So at the beginning of every year, we host our members exhibition. Anyone that's a member of Yeiser Art Center can have artwork in that show, and that's a really special kind of celebration for our members, because we actually have some members that have been around since the very beginning of Yeiser Art Center that still participate in that show, along with brand new student members. So it's a really great celebration. And then, like I mentioned, the educational component to what we do is really important to us. So we partner with artists in the community to offer classes, workshops, often free, usually, if not free, very low cost, so that it's accessible to our community. So one of our instructors, Tanya Knightsky, is actually the painting teacher at the Paducah School of Art and Design. So we have a lot of really good relationships with the other artists and organizations in the community, so that we can work together on this educational component. And then we also do pop-up events. We do a lot of printmaking. We have some great printmakers in Paducah. So we have a lot of just hands-on activities in the gallery, outside of the gallery, where people can just drop in and try an activity. We're actually doing one tonight in Paducah, so y'all can just drive over after this. And then an event that we've started as an annual event is our community draw-a-thon, where we cover the gallery walls in paper and just let people come in and go to town drawing, just having a good time. We have some prompts, some artists that come in and kind of get people excited, and we leave it up for just like a week and then take it all down. And we're also working on the state level, collaborating with the programs like the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange, to talk about some of the history of the work that's being done in craft in Kentucky. So we recently hosted this artist talking workshop called Kentucky Fibers in partnership with the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange program. And we moved looms into the gallery, we did some natural dyeing in the gallery. It was a great weekend. And our most recent claim to fame is that we were just awarded the Governor's Award in the Arts in the category of community arts. So again, that's a really important thing for us to be able to give back to our community. We're there because of our community, we're there for our community. So that was really special to receive that award from the governor just a couple of weeks ago. So now we're going to get into talking about the festival a little bit. The Lowertown Arts and Music Festival is a really unique festival. We wanted to break down just some of the numbers a little bit. Seth created these really nice pie charts for us. Because we're a nonprofit arts organization and we're putting on a free festival, we really rely on our sponsors, our beer sales, our vendor booth fees, to be able to make the festival possible. So it's a little bit of a different budget than other festivals have. So this shows our income for 2023. Obviously, the big pieces of the pie you see are sponsorship and alcohol sales, and then our festival expenses. So because we're Lowertown Arts and Music Festival, we have these two really important components, the music and the art side of it. Those two things work together to bring in the crowds, to bring in the vendors, and to make it a successful event. So the biggest expense for our festival is our music production. So enough about the numbers. The really unique thing about the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival is that it's held in a neighborhood, the historic Lowertown neighborhood in Paducah. So this neighborhood had become kind of dilapidated. It was a little bit run down, and the city decided that they wanted to do something to encourage growth in that area. So it was a little over maybe about 20 years ago, when the Lowertown artist relocation program was started in collaboration with actually a local artist that was living there at the time, and the city allowed artists to move into the neighborhood, buy property for $1, but they had to have a plan to change the spaces into artist live-work spaces with an open studio or some kind of publicly facing area, and then they could also live in those properties. So, so the neighborhood really kind of had this this rejuvenation. Of course, artists, always have the best ideas and can do the most innovative things with space. So the neighborhood started to thrive, and the city and some of the local artists wanted to celebrate that with the festival. So the festival started from that neighborhood. So it's literally on the streets of a neighborhood where there's a house right here, and there's an artist vendor right on the street in front of them. We set up a large main stage in a grassy lot that the city owns, and then we have the vendor booths running along the streets. And I think this is where I'm going to introduce Seth and let him take over for a few minutes. He's going to talk about the festival that wasn't in 2020.
Thanks, Lexie. Good morning, everybody. Again, Seth Murphy. I've been involved in the festival since 2015 and have seen a lot of different sides of it. Prior to the Yeiser taking over the programming and the ownership of the event, Lexie mentioned that the artists themselves and the city were the originators of the event, and then just through years of hosting it and individuals like really having the onus, that wears on individuals. So a plan was sort of made for another arts organization to transfer ownership, and that ended up with Yeiser. And from my viewpoint, that's been a very successful partnership. This is a relatively new festival compared to the other festivals that Kentucky Archives are celebrating this month. So to have, I think, that partnership with Paducah's oldest nonprofit means a lot, adds a lot of validity to the work that Lowertown's doing, and helps further the mission of the Yeiser as well. Unfortunately, in 2020, we were not able to continue that mission, although we explored a lot of different options, including events in parking lots, or there are some virtual, things that you can find by visiting the Yeiser social media. But despite all of our efforts to hold a safe event in 2020, we were not able to. But the next year, we did put together an event that was not Lowertown Arts and Music Festival. We shifted to a more like ticketed, traditional music festival idea, and moved from the open air environment of Lowertown neighborhood to Carson Park in Paducah to present a ticketed event. And what we were able to do there was use the park and the boundaries there to monitor attendance and help police, sort of distance and safety guidelines in the fall of 2021, when the COVID situation was still, being seriously monitored, and there were restrictions sort of still in place. We were able to put on an event, so happy that happened. We were able to make the most of what was available to us in the community, and we presented a lot of great music that year, and had vendors and local musicians and some touring musicians perform when they didn't have other places to perform. People were, just starting to come out and see shows again, so to have a big spacious outdoor environment where you could ensure capacity numbers were followed and social distancing was available. The community, I think, really appreciated that. Here's some more photos of that event. And then the next year, 2022, we were able to return to our home turf of the Lowertown Arts and Music neighborhood. You can see the lineup there, and our branding happened kind of fast. Rewind here, you can kind of see how we started to incorporate the Yeiser and Lowertown together, as I like flip between the logos here. It has the YAC, the Yeiser Arts Center, and then the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival is the neighborhood blocks there, the 6 blocks where the event occurs, and then going fully into it with YAC Oktoberfest, and then 2022, again, like drawing the comparison between these two organizations. A lot of the work in the past few years has been, you know, letting people in Western Kentucky and Paducah know more about the event, and that's why we were really excited to come here today. You know, to put together this presentation to not only share with everyone here right now, but share with our attendees and supporters in Western Kentucky to learn more about how the event became, where it is now, and where it's headed. Here's some photos from the 2022 festival. You can see how the stage is positioned right between residential areas there. A big part of our work throughout the year is maintaining relationships with neighbors, whether they're good neighbors or neighbors that you have to spend some more time with. It's great. But everybody, yeah, loves the location. This is the only event held in this area in Paducah throughout the year. There's some parades, and there's festivals that happen on the riverfront. The riverfront is gorgeous, but there's nothing else that is like a street festival mentality where you shut down the roads and everybody gets to walk around and eat some barbecue and drink some beer in the street. It's always a fun time for the entire family. I feel like it's celebrated as a sort of kickoff to the summer as well. We partner a lot with both school, like youth, and some older senior citizen style groups. A lot of them to perform what they've been working on in the spring semester there. Pictured here is the Paducah Jazz Patrol, a group of volunteer players that have been playing for a long time and are still playing. It's great. Here's another local original act here. As mentioned, I love showcasing the original talent that Paducah has, very quirky performers, etc. Pictured here is a group, one of Paducah's oldest sort of rock and roll bands that has been around since, I think, the 80s, the Wheelers. They've been started as like a punk rock band and now play a little bit of everything. It's a older gentleman you can see with a diorama of the COVID molecule and a ninja sword. And he went on to chop it in half and declare that COVID was over. It's a little theatrical. I cannot speak on the scientific validity of that statement, but I hope that it shows that we have fun at the event. And then in addition to local groups, we bring in groups from surrounding areas. Pictured here is a great banjo player from Asheville, North Carolina. We try to target like cities within 300-mile radius, so Asheville's sort of just outside of that. But we often pull in acts from Asheville and Central Kentucky area, Lexington, Louisville, Cincinnati, Memphis, Nashville, St. Louis is sort of like our donut of like artists and musicians that we're bringing to Paducah. Yeah.
I was just thinking about a couple things I wanted to mention that Seth reminded me of. I think the mentality of encouraging local artists to get involved and then balancing that with bringing other artists and musicians from other areas that people in Paducah might not regularly get to see is kind of that same mentality that we have at Yeiser Art Center. So that fit of the Yeiser running the festival makes a lot of sense. We want to highlight what we have and then also bring in some other kinds of experiences. And when Seth was talking about the Oktoberfest, I remembered I hadn't talked about festival attendee numbers. So in 2019, our last regular festival before the pandemic, we counted 20,000 people at the festival over the course of the weekend. The Lowertown Arts and Music Festival always happens in May. As Seth mentioned, it's kind of a kickoff to the summer. We try to do it before everybody leaves on their vacation after school gets out. And we have, it's the only festival of its kind in the area, and we do have a really high attendance rate for our region. So as we're coming back, we're building those numbers back up. And that's something that we've had to do a lot of work on is the actual physical layout of the festival, what we had to shift after COVID, after we held the Oktoberfest, what we needed to look at as far as how we needed to change the festival to make sense for all the changes that had happened. We lost a lot of volunteers, a lot of our artist vendors, people that had been coming for years, people that had attended, that all changed. So we had to do a lot of planning and still do to figure out what makes the most sense. It's not a stationary thing, it has to shift. We have to constantly be assessing what we can do, what we can afford, what we have the capacity for, what we have the volunteers for to make it all happen. So just wanted to mention that. Yeah, do you want to talk about?
So we did 2022, we returned to the neighborhood, and at that point, the Yeiser and the festival had been, I think for several years now, so relationships are growing. Lexie and I had worked together for several years now, and sort of like, we're gaining some momentum. So we were looking at, I guess, like what else can we do with this network of musicians and artists and community that we have. And Lexie became involved in the UNESCO program, which is a super awesome thing that Paducah has recognition as being the UNESCO City of Folk and Craft Heritage, with ties to the quilting there, Quilt Museum. If any of you visited that big spot in Paducah. So an opportunity presented itself to travel to the other side of the world for the 2022 Jeonju World Folk Arts Biennale, which was held in Jeonju, South Korea. So getting a little away from Kentucky here, just a bit. But we worked together, and I myself traveled with bluegrass, folk, old-time group, the Wheelhouse Rousters, and we spent, I think, 10 days in Jeonju, South Korea. Just this week, we're celebrating the 1-year anniversary of that. So 1 year ago today, we were in South Korea performing. We were the American United States representative at this event. There were groups from Egypt, from all over Asia, from Africa, different parts. And we got there and they said, "Oh, you guys are America," and that was pretty wild to have some, to be the representation musically, but also everything else that goes along with culture and traveling that far was quite a trip. We were greeted very well and started off our performances in a huge performing arts center here. You can see some other pictures of performances we did in Korea. Myself and the Wheelhouse Rousters. Also pictured here is Mary Hanlon, our tourism director, who's very supportive of the UNESCO program and sending sort of ambassadors from Paducah out to different parts of the world. And then the flip side of that is welcoming people from other parts of the world to Paducah and sharing, what we have there. Additionally, here's a group photo. This is all the different groups that we performed with that week. It was, we sort of described it as like summer camp for all of us creative adults from different parts of the world. You can see everyone in traditional dress up there. It was quite a week. There's a photo with our translator there. That was certainly a culture shock. We were in a southern part of South Korea, so not a big city really. Minority English speakers. It was very difficult to find someone else that spoke English, actually. So this is one of our translators that traveled with us throughout the city most of the time. But we had our instruments with us most of the time, so more often than not, that was the easiest way for us to sort of communicate or make friends with folks, was to just start playing music from Kentucky. People love the banjo. The banjo and the upright bass made tons of friends. They were pictured. We traveled to Busan, which is one of the larger cities in South Korea, pictured by the East Sea there. Some more performance photos.
Can I have a couple of
Yeah,
minutes to go over?
yeah, sure.
So this year is actually the 10-year anniversary of Paducah's designation as a UNESCO Creative City of Crafts and Folk Art, and that's a really special thing. We're one of just a few in the United States, and there are creative cities all over the world. So our tourism group in Paducah had to apply for that designation, and as Seth mentioned, the quilting, the local culture, the music, the food of Western Kentucky is all kind of a part of that. And then of course the creative problem solving, the artist relocation program in Lowertown, the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival, all of those things go into that designation to show that we're not the biggest city by any means, but we're doing a lot of work to put that focus on creativity. So when other UNESCO creative cities have calls for events, artists, for art, for music, they put those calls out to this network, and this is how we were able to travel to Korea, was through that network. So they had put a call out about this Biennale, and that was got the wheels turning with taking a group there, because we really wanted to be able to of course go there and represent Paducah, represent Kentucky, represent the United States, and also learn about the things that they're doing, learn about their culture, meet these artists from other places, and figure out how we can kind of connect in other ways.
So we returned from Korea, and with much excitement continued to plan the next Lowertown Arts and Music Festival, which occurred May 12th and 13th of this year. Really excited with how our graphic design turned out this year. We worked with a local designer that created a screen print of this design, which you can actually find at the table over there. You're going to take a look on your way out today. You can see the work that our friend Randall did. So great to strengthen that relationship with the community, bringing in local designers, as it does celebrate both art and music. You can see our lineup there. And let's see who's in the lineup. You see the second row, Wheelhouse Rousters and Kaihulu. So I mentioned earlier bringing people to Paducah. Kaihulu was one of the groups that we met in South Korea, and had this opportunity to bring people from outside of the United States to perform at our event. So we made that part of this year's festival. You can see this festival is so much more than just a week of celebration the 2 days that it happens. It's sort of ongoing in different ways throughout the year, in the way that it interacts with the Yeiser and the UNESCO program, and in local creatives in the Paducah community. So we're all very excited about how that has grown and continues to move forward. There's a larger graphic to see. If anybody recognizes any names there's groups from, like I said, Asheville, Memphis, Nashville. There's groups from Eastern Kentucky, Southern Illinois represented there. There's groups from the local campus. Murray State University is the largest campus by the festival. And then youth groups, PSL Youth and Children's Chorus, McCracken Jazz, we had pictures of earlier. And then another new thing for 2023 was the addition of our front porch stage, which we partnered with a local lesson and recording studio to take over a actual front porch, a residence there, and do programming on it. Here's a picture of that right there. We talked about the neighborhood being so unique and important to this event. So we hosted programs from the beginning to the end of the festival, 10 a.m. to I think 5 p.m. on this stage. They really focused on youth performers in the community, whether it was like an up-and-coming rock band like this, or somebody performing their first violin recital. So that was great to see families really embrace that and all of this work together. And I'll go backwards. You can see some of the vendor setups throughout the festival, diverse types of art. There's jewelry there, there's a book vendor, there's some other crafts. And then another picture of the stage. Pictured here, I think this picture made it onto our poster for this event today. This is a local group, Callan B and the Hive. Great growing sort of R&B and jazz and hip hop scene in Paducah. You may not expect it, but great creatives there, making awesome music and really just encouraging each other. Paducah's a smaller community, so there's only so many musicians there. And one of the advantages of that is like every musician plays in every band sort of thing. So you see 6 musicians up here. They're probably in 8 different bands. So that I feel like that strengthens the community as a whole. That's what the festival is about, bringing people together through art and music. Moving forward, this is some specific documentation on bringing Kaigulu, the group from Ambon, Indonesia, into Paducah. They were there for the entire week, so they sort of did a residency in Paducah, which included a recording session at the local studio that the Wheelhouse Rousters own and operate. It included a talk on the UNESCO exchange at the Paducah School of Art and Design, and it included other sort of small pop-up performances at local restaurants and at small businesses in Paducah. There you can see a picture of the group taken in Indonesia with their traditional costume. And this is a picture that we took on the riverfront of Paducah when the group arrived in Kentucky. There's the riverfront, one of the murals. Oh, and there's a picture of us. So myself and Lexie and Yeiser, admin assistant, Will, and then our intern for the week, Genevieve White. I spoke earlier about partnerships with the local university. This year we were able to offer a full-time internship program for one of the music marketing folks studying at Murray State University. So that's a huge step forward in just having more support for the festival, getting information out there to people. They help specifically, I think, with a lot of social media this year, and offering opportunities for local university to engage in the community. Here's a photo from our Thursday kickoff party that we did. You can see some folks dancing and enjoying the music. And this was the sort of large main performance that Kai Hulu, the group from Ambon, performed with the Wheelhouse Rousters. We did really sort of a formal, ceremonious concert where Wheelhouse Rousters performed, and then Kai Hulu performed, and then they all performed together. This was intertwined with speeches by Yeiser and UNESCO and Paducah representatives to just share more with the community about what it took to make this happen and what we want to do going forward, and what this means to Paducah, to Kentucky, but what it means to the world to put Paducah on the map and bring people here. Those experiences that they go back. I've talked to you today about traveling to Korea and the impact and importance and things that I saw there. So we hope that people that visit our town leave with a good feeling of Kentucky and hospitality and the art and culture that we have here. There's another crowd shot there. You can see the full group performing.
Did you want to show those videos?
I don't think I showed the video today.
Okay.
So that sort of wraps up the 23 festival, and then moving forward, Lexie, if you want to talk about what's happening at the gallery now and how we're moving forward.
Yeah, and I also want to reiterate how important I think that was for us to all take that trip to the Gingy World Folk Arts Biennale, so that we could really anticipate the needs and expectations of bringing a group here for the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival. So we were able to make that happen because we had that experience schlepping instruments across Korea. So that helped our experience with Kai Hulu from Ambon, Indonesia. So at the Yeiser Art Center right now, we have an exhibition up called Creative City Collaborations. And this is kind of a celebration of all of these different partnerships and collaborative projects we've been able to do through this UNESCO Creative Cities Network. So it's not just Yeiser Art Center working on this UNESCO designation, it's other artists in the community, it's our tourism, our city, our musicians, our local chefs. We have a lot of people contributing to that. So in this exhibition we actually have the center image, we have a listening station that has some videos from Kai Hulu playing in Ambon, Indonesia. So people can listen. We have some of their traditional drums, they're called tifa, and it's kind of this more interactive experience to learn more about the group. And then we also have artwork from other creative cities. We have documentation through photography, through writing, of some of the other UNESCO projects that we've participated in. So this was important for us to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of our UNESCO designation, to kind of bring it all together for people to see the connection to the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival, the connection to our regular programming, the connection to the city, and how that can all kind of work together, and also on this international scale. So another way that we're celebrating that is we're actually hosting a performance by the Wheelhouse Rousters that will be at Maiden Alley Cinema, which is our local art house cinema that's just up the street from us. And they're going to, the trip to Korea prompted them to release a new CD. So they have some great music on there, Kimchi Boogie, Kentucky Soul, that were inspired by this trip. So we're going to be having a performance with them coming up in just a couple of weeks. Do you have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, just continuing to grow on the experiences that we provide to different musicians and different artists that they become a part of the festival. I think it's great just seeing how the festival continues to grow and happen more than just 2 days a year. You know, we celebrate it and talk about it, and have something going on that ties into it. It seems like every month, and I think it keeps it on people's minds, and it lets people know that the event itself is accessible, that they too can be a part of it by having these open events. So I'm happy to see where it goes from here. Does anybody have any questions?
When I think of arts in Kentucky, I think of Paducah and Berea. Do you all ever partner with Berea in any way?
That's funny you said that. I actually have a meeting with Berea next week. I'm a fan of their First Friday concert series that they've established with the Levitt Amp Foundation. So we haven't had any partnerships I'm aware of yet. I know Lexie's part of the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange. So I'm sure folks from Berea and that area have been a part of that, but specific partnerships have or will be explored next week.
And I think, you know, just to kind of add on to that a little bit, we are, you know, always open to partnerships. I mean, it's how we can do what we do. And a lot of time it really just comes down to funding. So we have all these ideas, especially, you know, when you're in nonprofits, especially arts nonprofits, we don't lack ideas, you know, that we can work on together, but a lot of the time it is just finding that funding, having that, you know, financial support or the volunteers that we need, or, you know, committee members, those kinds of things that we really need to actually make these projects come to life. Was there another question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you remember what your numbers were capped off at in 21 for your kind of comeback. Do you know what like how many people you guys had in attendance that year comparatively to 2019?
21. I mean, I feel like that event was probably under 1,000 people.
Wow.
For so we went, you know, from 10,000 people each day to 1,000. And granted, you know, the ticket price definitely posed a barrier to that and the new location, etc. But everybody that attended that event had a great time. So happy to see that. And then we returned in 22. I don't know that we jumped all the way back to 10,000 number, but it was yeah. It was still a quality event that was enjoyed, and we changed the footprint of the festival. I don't know how much we spoke about that earlier, but it used to sort of be encompassing 6 blocks, and we cut it down to 4 blocks. So that made it both like more manageable on our end as producers. You know, restarting something, it's a little more difficult than just like keeping it running. And it made it easier for the crowd to navigate as well and really take in everything that was happening versus having to navigate different avenues.
And that was also a reflection of our vendors. When we came back after COVID, we had about half as many submissions for our artists and food vendors. So it just didn't make sense to have that larger footprint. You know, you want the festival to be successful. You also want it to look and feel a certain way, that, you know, the booths aren't just so spread out that it seems like it's empty. You know, you want that space to be nice and full, and still, you know, really still have to account for that, you know, kind of mentality of social distancing that still, you know, exists, where we need to be cautious and give people a little bit of space. But you know, we're growing back, and I think our numbers this year were right around 12,000 visitors over the course of the weekend. So it, you know, it's trending back up, which is great for us to see.
How were your artists and performers selected to participate?
So we have a juried process for the artist vendors. And again, you know, previously when we were getting more submissions, we had a separate outside juror that we paid to do that. It's kind of like how we handle our juried exhibitions at Yeiser Art Center, where you get that outside perspective, someone that is in the industry that knows what to be looking for. Once our submissions got a little bit smaller, we handled that internally because we just didn't have to jury in the same way that we previously had. And then Seth, I'll let you talk about music.
Yeah, the music selection process has changed since the start of my involvement. Originally, the Paducah Symphony Orchestra was the programming arm for music at the event. And as they sort of ran out of capacity to manage that, at that point I was offered the position to program it. Before it was sort of done by committee, there was a group of, you know, anywhere between 4 and 8 people that would discuss different music groups, whether they had submitted something formally or somebody just wanted to present a group. And then as time went on, the Paducah Symphony was no longer programming, and I started programming and started out with keeping this group discussion happening. But as years went on and we wanted to sort of, I don't know, move a little bit quicker, as groups tend to sometimes slow things down, I started just doing all the music contracting and booking. But we still have a festival committee that discusses submissions, and we have an open forum on our website where any musician can send us information. We try to keep to groups within like a 300-mile radius, and in booking music, I feel like probably a third of the groups are local, and then maybe 2/3 are regional touring groups. So that's the music side of things.
And another important submission is our food vendors, because of course some people want to come to the festival just for the food, and we actually have, I think we had maybe 15 food vendors this past year. We have a lot. We have a whole street that is dedicated to our food vendors, so everything from barbecue to our favorite local vegan restaurant, Branch Out, you know, some sweet things, some traditional kind of fair food, and then also our beer vendors. So we have our 2 local breweries represented there, Paducah Beer Works and Dry Ground Brewing Company. They're great community partners for us, because that's also, during the festival, those alcohol sales are really the only revenue that's coming in during the actual event for us. So we don't take a cut of sales from our vendors or anything like that. So the beer and wine sales are really, you know, an important financial part of the festival.
Do you make and keep any recordings of the performances?
Yeah, I mean, so the 2020 shutdown, one thing that it gave us was a chance to slow down and explore archiving and recording, etc. And when we came back in 22, one of the things that we set out to do was record as much as we could. So I do have with us today, we put together a CD of all the musical recordings from all the groups that performed in 22, and have that for sale at the Yeiser gift shop for tourists that visit Paducah, or people, you know, just looking for a really unique holiday gift, etc. And we took those with us to Korea and gave them out. You know, we gave dozens of them out to Korean citizens, so they're maybe listening to a hip hop band from Kentucky this morning, or a bluegrass band, or a banjo player. Who knows? We might be big in Korea right now. Beyond that CD, this year, 23, in order to make the most impact from our guests from Indonesia, we hired a videographer who followed the group around everywhere, documentary style. So they were able to capture that, their interaction, their performances, the recording studio, their presentations, as well as they tried to get a video of each performer at the festival. And if I can get out of my presentation, I think I could share one of those real quick.
While you're looking for that, I can talk for a minute about archiving things. I think as a nonprofit organization, that is one of our challenges, is we're always trying to figure out the best way to save the information that we need for the future. And again, you know, figuring out a budget for that. How do we record all the information that we need? Where do we keep that? You know, who's in charge of it? Where is it stored? That's always kind of an ongoing conversation and project that we're working on at Yeiser Arts Center and Lowertown Arts and Music Festival.
So here's a snippet of the performance from Kaihulu on main stage. We'll see how the sound works.
Hey Seth,
Yeah.
please tell me the South Koreans heard either Foggy Mountain Breakdown or Uli Banjos.
Oh yeah, they're big CCR fans. And one of the songs that Wheelhouse Rasters and Kaihulu performed together was what did they perform together?
Country Roads.
Country Roads. Yeah. Thank you. So we have that on video and film, and that's sort of a winter project of mine, is going through all that. I mean, you guys know how much time it takes to go through all this material, so maybe we can talk later and you can give us some advice on the best way to sift through these different things, etc. Here's one more video I'll leave you guys with of Kaihulu performing on the front porch stage. They did we tried to program them a performance every day so they could, you know, maximize their time. I mean, it takes like 20 hours just to get here of travel from where they are. So if you're just gonna do, you know, 1 or 2 shows, it's not worth your time. So we packed in their day. They did a performance every day. We took them canoeing on the river. We took them as many places as we could. We hung out with them at our houses, you know, had potlucks. It was a great week. But here's a performance of Kaihulu on our front porch in Lowertown Arts and Music Festival.
Especially to watching all of this performance. The first song, we're going to be talking about peace, because like what we campaign every time, if everything is peacefully, we can live better and support each other. And that's what we saw here in the community-led festival, Lowertown Art and Music Festival. Thank you so much. It's going to be the first song of Kaihulu. Welcome them, Kaihulu, with a round of applause. Thank you. Shalom, assalamu alaikum. Let's go. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, para saudara semua di tanah yang katong sama cinta. Shalom.
So stay tuned for the rest of the performance. Hopefully we'll be able to put something really fun together that provides support that we need to keep this exciting program going. If there aren't any other questions, then thank you guys for having us today. Yeah.